Hi everyone, and welcome back to my channel. And if this is your first time visiting, well, welcome to you. So, today's tale is Snow White and the Red Rose. So, sit back, relax, open your ears, and let's begin. Once upon a time, close by a great forest, there was a little cottage with two rose bushes growing beside it. One had blossoms of purest white, and the other had blossoms of deepest red. In the cottage lived a poor widow, whose two daughters were as beautiful as the roses, so she called them Snow White and Rose Red. Both her daughters were as good as they were beautiful, and they willingly helped their mother clean house and tend the garden. The two sisters loved each other deeply, and often went to the forest hand in hand to pick berries or gather nuts. All the wild creatures trusted them. The rabbits ate right out of their hands, and birds sang special songs to them. In summer, Rose Red always put two fresh roses, one white and the other red, in a bowl by her mother's chair. In winter, Snow White kept the fire blazing, and always had water boiling for a hot cup of tea. On cold winter evenings, their mother read from a great book, while her daughters spun thread by her side. One stormy night they heard a soft knocking at the door. Snow White and Rose Red hid in fear behind their mother. "Don't be frightened," she said. "It is surely some poor traveler lost in the storm and in need of our help." She drew back the heavy iron bolt, and when she opened the door, the daughters screamed and hid under their bed, because in walked a great shaggy bear. "Don't be afraid, my pretties," said the bear very gently. "I won't hurt you. I'm frozen and only want to warm myself by your fire for a moment." "Poor thing," said the mother. "Come right in and lie down at our hearth." Snow White and Rose Red, no longer afraid, came out to make friends with their guest, and to offer him tea with honey. Soon they began to play with him as if he were a huge furry toy. They pulled at his fur, rode on his back, and tickled him until he pretended to growl fiercely. The next morning the bear went off, but every evening through the long winter he knocked on the cottage door at sunset and came in to enjoy the fire and more hot tea with honey. Snow White and Rose Red never bolted the door for the night until their shaggy friend was safely inside. But when spring came, the bear had to say goodbye. "I must stay in the forest now and guard my treasure against the wicked dwarfs," he explained. "They are locked under the frozen ground all winter, but when the warm spring comes they escape and are free to run about the forest, stealing everything they find." As the bear walked through the door, his coat caught on the big latch and a clump of his black fur was left behind. But the bear did not seem to notice and continued on his way. Snow White said to her sister, "How strange! I thought I saw a flash of gold on our bear's back, but perhaps I was mistaken." One day shortly after the bear had left, while gathering firewood, the sisters came to a fallen tree, beside which a funny little creature danced up and down. When they got closer, they saw a tiny dwarf with a shriveled old face and a beard at least a yard long. The end of his beard was caught in a crack in the tree, and he bounced up and down in rage. "Help me, you silly girls!" he shrieked. "Willingly, sir. But how?" answered Snow White politely. "Are you dummies? Can't you see my beautiful beard is stuck? Do something!" he screamed louder than ever. Snow White pulled and Rose Red tugged, and although the dwarf's annoyance grew louder, they could not free his beard. "You useless creatures!" he shrieked. "Be patient, sir, I beg you," pleaded Rose Red. "I think I have an idea." Let me quick about it, snapped the dwarf. I can't waste my precious time. While he kept scolding, Rose Red pulled a pair of sharp scissors from her pocket and quickly snipped off the end of his beard. The dwarf was freed at last, but showed no gratitude. My beard, what have you done to it, you worthless ninnies? He shouted, and snatching up a bag of gold laying nearby, ran off without even a word of thanks. Snow White and Rose Red thought him very rude, but quickly forgot about him, until one day their mother sent them to catch some fish for dinner. As they approached their favorite stream, they thought they saw a great grasshopper jumping up and down on the bank, but when they came closer, they found it was the dwarf, just as angry as ever. Help me, you useless creatures, he screamed when he saw them. Do something! The dwarf had caught a great fish, but his beard had become tangled in his fishing line, and the fish was pulling him into the water. This time Rose Red knew what to do immediately. She pulled out her scissors and cut off a tiny bit of the long beard, and the dwarf was free again. Useless foul baggage, he shrieked. You have no sense. And once again, without a thank you, he snatched up a sack of pearls lying on the bank, and he ran off. The next day, when the sisters were walking to the village, they heard someone screaming in terror. They rushed down the path and saw a great beaked bird clutching their old friend the dwarf, about to fly off with him. Quickly, Snow White seized the dwarf by one leg, and Rose Red caught him by the other. They pulled and tugged and finally freed the dwarf. This time the sisters knew what to expect and were not surprised when the dwarf cursed them furiously, grabbed his sack of jewels, and ran off to his cave. On their way home from the village, the sisters found the dwarf again, not in trouble this time, but sitting and gloating over hundreds of precious jewels strewn around him. When he saw Snow White and Rose Red admiring his treasure, he attacked them with his familiar fury. Suddenly a huge bear lumbered across the moor, growling fiercely. In a flash he seized the dwarf in his great paws and hurled him to the ground, lifeless. Snow White and Rose Red were terrified of the beast until they heard a kind of familiar voice. They recognized their own beloved bear, and as they ran to embrace him, his shaggy fur fell off, and there before them stood a handsome figure dressed in cloth of gold. I am a prince, he said, but after stealing most of my wealth, that wicked dwarf put a curse on me and changed me into a bear. His death has set me free at last. The sisters were overjoyed, and before long Snow White married the prince, and Rose Red married his brother. Their widowed mother came to live with them, bringing with her the 2 rose bushes, which every year bore lovely roses of purest white and deepest red. The end. So thank you for watching. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and hit the notification bell below. And that's it. Bye for now.